Welcome back to Bi-Monthly Bull. Did I miss anything? I'm your host, Lewis Spears, and with quarantine over, just when you thought it was gone, this series is back like COVID. Symptoms may include being informed, being uninformed, laughing, getting offended, and a large chance of supporting me on Patreon. Link in the comments. Now, let's break down the last 2 weeks. In today's quick stories, Kim and Kanye are getting divorced. Not the first time that Kim's freed a black man, although this time it was Kanye who had the secret meeting with the millionaire man covered in cosmetics. In Australia, after the resurgence of coronavirus, Prime Minister Scott Morrison decided to take his 4th holiday in 12 months. This guy made my job illegal for an entire year and still worked less than I did. And unfortunately for normal people everywhere, Bitcoin hit an all-time high of $53,000 and conversations in bars hit an all-time low, as people who made 20% profit on $15 immediately thought they were the Wolf of Wall Street. But just like the Lamborghini these crypto freaks think they'll own, right after purchasing, that shit plummeted in value. Buy high, sell low, right boys? And in ironic news, the stronger, more contagious UK strain of coronavirus was just detected in China, because just like World War II, Asians drop something on the white man and we chuck a nuke at their city. Empire strikes back, bitch. Over to sports, the Australian Open is happening. As always, the tennis event attracted many Chinese tourists, the most famous of these being COVID-19. After flying in COVID-infested planes, 72 multi-millionaire tennis players have tragically been forced to stay in a luxury hotel for 14 days. And some of them even expect Melburnians who had to spend 110 days in their shithole homes to go, oh. Bernard Tomic's OnlyFans girlfriend has been doing it particularly tough.
Sitting here and feel, oh God, my hair. This is the worst part of quarantine. I don't wash my own hair. I've never washed my own hair. It's just not something that I do.
Really? That's the worst part of quarantine? Washing your own hair? Fuck, I thought it was a spike in suicide rates. Silly me. Actually, in the interest of keeping those rates where they are, I reckon we just let Bernard out. Because, you know, I want to see him playing on the court, not flying off his own balcony mid-vlog. Alright, that's the recap. It's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Just like those protesters, let's get deep into the Capitol. So, I've been gone since August, and look, some things have happened. In these scenarios, I think that news outlets like CNN or Fox or parody news programs like The Project have an advantage over me because, like a male feminist, they just have to say what they think you want to hear. But also, like a male feminist, we all know they're just trying to fuck you. So, in the spirit of being as fair as possible, instead of appealing to one side or the other, I will instead alienate both of them. Is this a real country? The people have to pick between a corpse obsessed with sniffing hair and a con man obsessed with his own hair. I think they'd both be happier spending time together. Biden sniffing and Trump being flattered. But then you'd have to pick between Electric Satan or the Demonic Jailer. Two great names for a metal band, a nightmare for gay Hispanics. Both parties seem bent on only talking to their side. No one wants to actually convert people, other than Mike Pence. So, depending on who you listen to, after a landslide victory or a rigged election, true patriots or traitors to the nation stormed the Capitol or held a peaceful protest. There's a lot of disagreement about what happened at the Capitol, but there's one thing we can all agree on. This guy's costume is fucking sick. The amount of people wearing a costume to commit federal crimes is astounding. Was there a best costume wins a presidential pardon competition going on that we didn't know about? In fact, are we sure that Trump is really pardoning Lil Wayne, or is that just a Viking guy in blackface? You can tell most people who stormed the Capitol have never committed a crime in their life because all of them were snitching on themselves. Every single post-Capitol raid interview went exactly like this.
What's your name?
Look, my name's John Thomas.
Did you break into the Capitol?
Yeah, I stole heaps of stuff. I work at Jim's Mowing. I flew here on flight JB15. I live in Texas on 1010 Colorado Street. I stole AOC socks. They smell good. I'm going to sell them to Ben Shapiro. Are you going to send this to the cops?
The Capitol raid was this weird hybrid of violent revolution, influencer meetup, QAnon comment section, and a little bit of bingo night. Although these old ladies fucking hate counting. I like this new wave of influencer activism. It seems to be escalating. Colin Kaepernick kind of started it by kneeling at a game. Now, that's boring. Amy Schumer's getting arrested at protests. Funniest thing she's done for years, by the way. Now we've got QAnon influencers live streaming from inside the Capitol. Call Me Carson was in Nancy Pelosi Pelosi's office trying to take down Discord for some reason. And how do you beat that? David Dobrik is going to have to run down Fauci in a Tesla. Jake Paul will have to vlog himself knocking out doctors who think COVID is real. And I'm going to have to do something completely mental, like say The Project is funny. People keep asking me my honest thoughts on the Capitol Hill raid. And let me just say, Alex Jones was the voice of reason that day. If Alex Jones is telling you to calm down, it might be time to grab a seat. Maybe get into some less crazy conspiracy theory, like the government controls the weather, or a fun one, like Sandy Hook was a hoax. There's plenty out there. Ultimately, the Capitol Hill raiders are losers. They said they were starting a revolution. They broke into a government building full of politicians, and all they did when they got in was take selfies and then get condemned by the guy they were trying to impress. Pathetic. You want to see some real freedom fighters? Check out the Hong Kong protesters, or the farmers in India, or Australian patriots who refuse to pay for sauce 25 cents. Go fuck yourself. But to the reasonable people who are disappointed by the outcome of this election, don't worry. No matter what Twitter says, those crazy people in the Capitol do not represent you. They represent mental illness. And to the people watching this with a mental illness, sorry. Trump's presidency is over, and to some of his supporters, it may seem like a disappointing end with this scandal. But if you think about it, most presidencies are defined by their scandals. Bush had 9/11. Obama had drone strikes and the tan suit, I guess. Trump, you can take your pick. And Joe Biden, my honest thoughts are, I really do think his presidency will be completely forgotten. Not by us, but by himself. Besides, Biden's off to a great start. Let's finish off by breaking down the inauguration. The Biden inauguration exemplified everything good about America: freedom, liberty, and a life free from tyranny. They did this by shutting down an entire city, filling it with cops, and arresting anyone that had the wrong papers. Emperor Palpatine wannabe Kamala Harris was in good form as always, standing behind Count Dooku, pulling the strings. We're in the Clone Wars stage of her rise to power, by the way. No, Q, not those clones. Biden's speech was okay, apart from him calling for a return to truth and facts and then saying this:
"We have never, ever, ever, ever failed in America."
Mr. President, Vietnam would like a word. To be honest, an inauguration without the general public was very strange, but the only reason they didn't do it over Zoom is because Joe's too old to work at a computer, and Kamala doesn't do anything unless it involves 25,000 police. Checking in on the losing side, during one of the most important moments of his presidency, Trump was nowhere to be seen, which, to be fair, is perfectly on brand for him. Don spent the final moments of his presidency draining the swamp by pardoning a bunch of his mates accused of corruption and then repealing an anti-lobbying law that he himself introduced to drain the swamp. Then he told his supporters to have a nice life, jumped on a private plane, and fucked off forever.
So, have a good life.
Now it seems the only time we'll ever see a Trump family member is if you're playing Roblox and Barron logs in. Straight after the inauguration, Joe Biden got to work by immediately doing the opposite of what Donald Trump wants: ending the Muslim ban, rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, and sentencing Lil Wayne to death, which Kamala thought was very funny. That's the end of the episode. Thank you very much. Bi-Monthly Bull is back. We're going to be releasing this twice a month, every 2 weeks. That is what bi-monthly means. Do not argue with me in the comments. I have picked up a second editor thanks to your generous support on Patreon. That's the only way we can get this done. Shows haven't been around for a year. Quarantine made this series impossible to produce. It couldn't be done over Zoom. Joe Biden was working for me. He couldn't work it out. But this series is back, and I'm gonna do my best to get it out to you every 2 weeks. And the best way to help me achieve that is by supporting us on Patreon. That's the only way this series gets done. And I am very, very hopeful that stand-up comedy shows will be back in the next couple of months. Stay tuned to my channel. Check out my Instagram. I will let you know. Thank you very much. I'm Lewis Spears. I'll talk to you again in 2 weeks.